session on M6 and MEP recruitment. I'd like to welcome everybody today. Next slide, Maddie. So for this presentation, we will have two speakers from the Deloitte M6 team. My name is Sarah Storms, and I will be joined by my colleague, Maddie Coole. Moving on to the next slide, we will take a look at our agenda for today. In this session, we will cover various aspects of the M6 system that can be used for identification and recruitment within your MEP program. We will go over how to use the functionality in M6 and what benefits it provides to you in your IDNR efforts. Today, our topics include an overview of M6, and then we'll deep dive into M6 functionalities such as student record search, my lists, move notices, data requests, and the missed enrollments report. We do want this to be an interactive session, so please use the chat feature to ask your questions at any time. If we are not able to answer your questions live, please reach out to the M6 help desk for further support. Their contact information will be provided at the end of this presentation. Next slide, Matt. So our first question is a polling question to gauge how familiar our audience is with M6. Depending on how you logged into this session, you should see a poll box pop onto your screen. If that does not work for you, please type your answer into the chat. So how often do you log into M6? A, every day, B, about once a week, C, about once a month, or D, I have never logged in. We'll just give everybody a minute to answer. Thank you, everyone. I'm seeing a range of answers, but a lot of B's and C's, about once a week or once a month, but I'm also seeing people that have never logged into M6. So we're excited to have you here today and to let you know how the M6 system can help with your IDNR efforts. Let's move on to our next question. So myself and Maddie, we're based in the DC area, or I'm in Northern Virginia, and the weather is warming up and summer is coming. And our next question is just a fun one to, again, help everybody to use the chat feature. Where is your favorite place to vacation? Got Mexico, Hawaii, anywhere near the beach and out in nature. Got some mountains here. Italy, more Mexico. Anywhere it's not snowing, I will agree with you. I can't believe snow is in April, but I guess that depends on where you're from. Thank you, everyone. I loved getting to see all of your answers, and I know personally I'm dreaming about warm weather and the beach myself. So throughout this presentation, we do encourage you to use the chat feature to ask questions throughout the presentation. We will do our best to answer as we go after we finish each of the major sections. But again, if we don't get to answer your question, we encourage you to reach out to the M6 help desk. And again, that contact information will be provided at the end of the presentation. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So now we're just going to move into a brief M6 overview. So as you know, migratory children move from place to place, often on short notice, and families may not have time to gather their children's education and health documentation before re-enrolling them in a new school district. This can delay enrollment or result in misplacement in grade or course level. MSIX ensures that a migratory child's academic progress is documented in a central system accessible by all states wherever they go. To do this, MSIX is a web-based application that links state migrant systems to produce a single consolidated student record composed of minimum data elements, or what we call MDEs. This not only allows for the generation and analysis of national migrant trends, but primarily assists authorized personnel to make informed decisions on enrollment, greater course placement in a new school, accrual of credits towards graduation, and participation in the migrant education program. Next slide, please. The MSIX system architecture graphic displays how data flows between the state system, MSIX, and end users. MSIX receives data through secure file transfers from the state MEP systems to create the consolidated student record viewed by end users. MSIX currently does not support direct data entry, so the data you see in MSIX is a consolidation of the data in your state system. As such, the state system remains the authoritative source of migrant data. So it is a promising practice to keep your state data as accurate as possible and ensure that your state makes timely updates to MSIX so the data in MSIX is also as accurate as possible. Next, we're going to take a look at how to access MSIX. To gain access to MSIX, potential users must work through their state or regional administrators to complete their state's MSIX account application process. This includes completing a user access application, basic cybersecurity training, and acknowledging the MSIX rules of behavior. Before jumping into the account statuses, remember that passwords on MSIX do expire every 90 days and that you must reset your password prior to the 90 days to maintain access. Now let's review the list of potential MSIX account statuses. First, you can have an active account. This means that you maintain normal access to MSIX, and as long as you have set your challenge questions, you can manage your own password. Your account is in an active status for the first 90 days after it has been activated or after you reset your password. And as long as you continue to reset your password within 90 days, your account will remain in that active status. The next account status is locked. This happens when you enter your MSIX username and password combination incorrectly 3 times. If you have set challenge questions to your account, you will now be able to use the self-manage password feature to set a new password on your own account when it may become locked. Your account expires if you have not reset your password within 90 days. When your account has expired, again, as long as you have your challenge question set, you can reset your own password and regain access to MSIX. The statuses of locked and expired can only be set by the system based on either too many invalid login attempts or password age. MSIX user administrators cannot manually set an MSIX account to either locked or expired. The next 2 statuses we will talk about, disabled and deactivated, may either be set by the MSIX system or by a user administrator. As some of you may remember, we did implement automatic account disabling and deactivation in March of 2019. A month after your account expires, if you haven't taken action to reset your password, your account will become disabled and you will not be able to self-manage your account. This means that you will have to reach out to an MSIX user administrator to request a password reset. And then finally, if your account has been disabled for a year, MSIX will automatically deactivate your account. If this does happen and you do need to regain access to MSIX, you will need to contact your MSIX user administrator to complete your state's account request process. And as a reminder to MSIX user administrators, The automatically disabling and deactivating of MSIX user accounts is a failsafe. So for those that did answer D, that you have never logged into MSIX before, we recommend that you reach out to your state user administrators. Their contact information can be found on the MSIX website before logging in. And find out your state's process for gaining access to MSIX so that you can gain access to some of the features and reports that we are going to be moving into next. Next slide, please. So this table does depict some of the various MSIX user roles, permissions, and levels. It is important to note that the user roles are assigned by the user administrators in your state. So if you have a question about the role that has been assigned to you, please reach out to them. So not all roles will have access to all the features that we may discuss in this webinar today. For example, if you only have a user administrator role assigned to your account, you will not be able to send or receive move notices or data requests. And again, if you have any questions about what you can or cannot do in MSIX, we invite you to visit the Roles and Responsibilities matrix on the MSIX online help page or reach out to our MSIX help desk. Next slide. And remember, whether you access MSIX on your desktop, tablet, or phone, MSIX will adapt its design to your device. This is helpful in case you need to quickly access MSIX out in the field. You can obtain the information you need by pulling out your phone and logging in just as you would on the desktop. For example, say you're in the middle of completing a COE on a returning student, or you just arrived at a family's residence to re-interview and need to verify some data quickly. You can quickly pull up MSIX on your phone and access the data that the student has on file for reference. But please keep in mind that some elements of the design may look a little different from device to device. Okay, moving on. So this brings us to our first major content block on searching student records in MSIX. Next slide, Maddie. When you log into MSIX, if your user and role includes student record access, which is every role except user administrator, you will see the MSIX basic search on the homepage. This allows you to search using a student's first, middle, or last name, as well as date of birth and ID information. Selecting the advanced search on the bottom left of the student record search window, indicated here with an arrow. Next slide. Will take you to a screen you see here. This allows you to search on a wider set of criteria, including the parents' names, birth location, district of residence or district school name, school or project name, and more. Quick reminder that only the search fields first name, last name, student identification number, parent name, or date of birth can be used as standalone fields. All other fields must be entered in conjunction with a secondary field for MSIX to run its search. Some helpful hints when conducting searches in MSIX, we recommend using the percentage symbol to run wildcard searches. These searches allow you to search using only partial information. For example, if you aren't completely sure of the spelling of a child's name, but you are certain of what the first few characters are, you can type those characters followed by the percentage symbol. And MSIX will return results that have that string of characters in the first part of the child's name. Additionally, if your search doesn't return the child that you are looking for, please be sure to check your near matches to see if they are pending a merge. A near match is a student record that was submitted to MSIX that, based on certain criteria, appears to be very similar to another student record in MSIX. In this case, we don't assign M6 IDs until that near match is resolved. That means a data admin has gone in and verified whether that student's record is in fact matching another one already in our system. The near match report is only for data administrators. So once you have conducted your search and found the appropriate student, next slide, you will be brought to their consolidated student record, from which you can access several M6 tools at the top of the record. Here, you can send a move notice. You can request missing or incomplete data from other users using data requests. You can flag the record for merge. You can export the record for printing and providing to the student as an unofficial transcript to take with them to the next school that they're moving to. And you can save the child's record to a custom list. We will go over all these tools in more detail later in the presentation. For now, a useful view for recruiters is our historical view. This historical view shows you information on the student record chronologically by submitting state. You can use the qualifying move section to review the qualifying move history and patterns of migration for a given family to possibly predict where the student's next potential move and place of arrival may be. We will now move on to a deep dive into M6 tools another M6 tool that will also be helpful for your IDNR efforts. So this next feature we will further examine in M6 is My Lists. My Lists allows you to save student records to customizable lists. For example, as a recruiter, say you work with certain students frequently, or you want to save certain records that correspond to your recruiter visit schedule. This feature allows you to save any of these relevant student records in a convenient place as you go into the field to conduct interviews and fill out COEs. Next slide. Users can save as many student records as they wish to up to 60 different lists, which can satisfy a variety of your needs. You can access this feature by selecting the My Lists option on the left-hand navigation page within M6, where you can begin creating your list and adding student records. In addition to the My List functionality, users can also find the Send Multi-Move Notice feature that corresponds to each list. This enhancement that we deployed last year enables M6 users to send one move notice for multiple children. We'll cover move notices in more detail in the following section. Once you are on the My List page, you can start creating your custom lists by clicking the Create New List button at the top right hand of the screen, indicated by that first arrow. Once you have created your list, if you want to edit the name of your list, adjust which student records are saved to a list, or if you want to delete a list, you can use the Edit Delete List button on the corresponding list. Also, to view the students you have saved to a particular list, you can use the caret to the right of each list to expand it. In order to start saving student records to list, you can use the search feature to find the record you want to save. And after opening the child's consolidated student record, you can click the Add to List button. This button will open a modal, which will allow you to save the student record to any list you currently have. You will also have the option to create a brand new list to add the student to, all directly from their student record. Once the student record has been saved, the button on their record will change to Edit Remove from List, where you can continue to edit what lists the student record is saved to. So this My List functionality evolved from users asking for this capability. So last year, we conducted a structured usability study comprised of a group of MSIX users to ensure that the My List design was easy to use, intuitive, and provided the functionality that users were requesting. From these interviews, we gathered some use cases and a lot of positive feedback. And we encourage you, as you're going through M6, if there's anything that we could do or enhance in the system to make your job easier to supporting migrant children, we encourage you to reach out to the M6 help desk and make that request. Next slide. So to conclude our My List overview, some important considerations for using My List. First, to ensure your lists remain useful, a list that has not been updated in 15 months will expire. You will receive an email notification 90 days and 30 days before the list reaches expiration. Actions that can restart the expiration timer include saving a new student record to a list, removing a student record from a list, and changing the list name. Second, any action taken on one list will not affect other lists. For example, say that I have one student record saved to two separate lists. If I remove that student record from just one of the lists, that record will continue to be saved to the other one. Third, users can create up to 60 different lists. However, list names cannot exceed 60 characters. And finally, if a user has a student record on a list that is merged into a different student record or is completely deleted from the M6 system, the user will receive an email notification that the student record has been removed from your list due to a student record merge or deletion. I will now hand it over to Maddie to talk about the M6 Move Notice functionality.
All right, thank you, Sarah. So let's move into M6 Move Notices. So Move Notices are a powerful tool for interstate coordination among and within state migrant education programs. At its foundation, a Move Notice gives you the ability to alert another state, district, school that a child will be changing or already has changed their location. In your area, when a student is changing location, they're either moving to or moving from your location. So as a result, there are two types of Move Notices in M6, Move to and Move from notices. You can send a Move to notice if you want to notify someone that a migratory child has moved to their area. This type of Move Notice is critical to accelerating identification and recruitment efforts. The more information you can provide about the child or the move, the better. It's especially helpful to include information about the district to which the student is moving and the family's contact information, if that information is available, so that the recruiters in the new area can find the child. On the other hand, you can send a Move from notice to notify another district that a migratory child has moved out of their area. So as a recruiter, say you're out in the field working with a family who mentions that they're moving tomorrow. You can pull up M6 right on your phone, log in, and send a Move notification to the appropriate state, district, or region as you are speaking with the family. Move notices also allow you to log a history of notifications to help identify mobility patterns and to establish your network between states as you interact with other M6 users. Some important considerations for Move notices. First, most user roles in M6 can initiate or send out a Move notice. However, only users with the data administrator role can actually receive, reassign, or dismiss these notifications, which should be routed accordingly if it is not done automatically. Third, say you want to send a single Move notice for more than one child. You can do this by utilizing the multi-move feature on the My List page, which was discussed previously. With these considerations in mind, All MEP programs should establish procedures so that M6 requests are handled promptly. So at this time, we'll move into a mini demo about how to send a move notice in M6.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for this M6 training video. In this video, we will be reviewing move notices. Please note that we are using a test version of M6, and any student data that you see will be dummy data. For this training video, we are currently logged into M6 as a Texas State Data Administrator. And we've just gotten word that a student named Friday Plain is moving to the Acalanes Union High District in California. We'd like to let California know that this student is moving to their state so that they can be prepared to identify and quickly enroll that student. So let's review how we can send California a move notice. To do so, we'll start by searching for the student record for which we'd like to send a move notice. Once we are on the student record of interest, we can click the Move Notice link in the upper right-hand corner. When we click that Move Notice link, we'll see a Move Notice pop-up window display. On this window, we can use this drop-down to determine if we want to send a Move To notice or a Move From notice. In this case, Friday Plain is moving from our area in Texas to California, so we will select this option. In addition, we can add a comment on the move notice to add some additional context to the recipient of the move notice. Once we've added our comment, we can select the recipient of the move notice, in this case, California. If we are aware of which district the student is expected to move to, we should add that information as well to help California quickly identify and enroll the student. Additionally, if we know the school that the student is expected to go to when they arrive in the state, we should add that as well. In this case, we know the state and the district, but we don't know the school, so we will leave school blank for this move notice. Once we select Submit, the move notice will be sent. Now that the move notice has been sent, we can navigate to our work list and confirm that the move notice we just sent for Friday Plain is there in our work list. Now, let's review this filter on the Move Notice tab of our work list. Currently, it's filtered to all open notices, but we can use this filter to notices assigned to ourselves. In this case, I see that there is a move notice in my queue assigned to me, and I have not viewed the latest update on this move notice as it is bolded. I can see that this move notice was initiated by the state of Tennessee, and I see the date on which it was created. I can expand the move notice to see an additional comment that was left by the sender to let me know that the student is expected to arrive at the end of the month. If I want to correspond with the sender of the move notice, I can do so using this correspondence thread. For example, I will reach out to the sender of the move notice to see if they are able to provide some contact information. Now I know the sender has received my comment. Let's say I need to reassign this move notice to ask another user to share the burden of work on this move notice with me. I can click this reassign button next to the dismiss button. When I open the reassign button, I'll see that there's a reassign work list page where I can select users to help work on this work list item with me. In this case, I will select this user and I will deselect this user as I know that that user does not need to work on this work list item. When I click this reassign button, any user who is selected on this page will be assigned to the move notice. Before I do so, I can add a comment so that users who are reassigned to this work list item receive any additional information I may want to share with them. And now I've received confirmation that the work list has been reassigned. Let's say I get word that the student has been identified and they have been enrolled in school. At that point, I no longer need the move notice in my queue. And if I'd like, I can go ahead and dismiss the move notice. Before I dismiss, I can add a comment if I wanted to add that to the record of this work list item. And once I dismiss, I will see that the work list item has been removed from my queue. Thank you for joining this training on move notices.
All right. So, having reviewed how to send a move notice in MSIX, we also want to highlight a new report in MSIX that enables users with the data administrator role to monitor move notice trends in your state. So the MSIX move notices report can be found under the work list section on the reports page, and it includes metrics on the volume of move notices broken down by those that were sent move to versus move from, as well as the average amount of time that move notices involving your state were open and dismissed, as well as the total number of move notices that currently remain open. So this list can be filtered by the creation, update, and dismissal dates for move notices, whether the move notices were sent or received by your state, and the current status. Again, users with the data administrator role should use this report to monitor move notice trends and dismissal rates to promote interstate coordination for your state. So at this time, we'll go ahead and pause to answer a few questions that have come in through the chat.
Okay, so the first question that we had come through is, where can I view move notices that I've sent in the past? On the My Work List page in the MSIX system, accessible via the work list link on the left-hand navigation pane, it will take you to your work list page, and at the top right-hand corner, there's a data request and move notice history. From there, you can search for data request and move notices by student name, your own name. So in this case, if you want to view the ones that you have sent, you can type in your first and last name, and at if you wanted to look at a specific time range that you either created the work list or that the work list was resolved, and then you can hit search, and then that should bring up the list of move notices that you have sent in the past. So not all features, again, that we have talked about today will be assigned to all users. So primary users, secondary users, and data administrators can initiate and respond to their own move notices, but only data administrators can dismiss move notices at this time. And also only data administrators can reassign a move notice. So if you don't have access to all the features that you saw today with the move notices, we do encourage you to reach out to your state or regional user administrators to see if it would be appropriate to provide you other access. And then our final question for move notices is, can I reassign a move notice to a secondary user? And unfortunately, at this point, the answer is no. Move notices can only be reassigned to other data administrators in the state. Okay, that looks to be all of our move notice questions. So we can go ahead and move on to data requests. Maddie, back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, so as she said, we will go ahead and move to data requests. So data requests should be used to request additional information from another state, district, or region that is needed to serve a migratory child. So for example, let's say a child arrives in your state and you notice the child's record is missing current course history information such as grade to date or clock hours in M6, even though the child left in the middle of the semester. So you can use the data request button on the student's record to ask the sending states or districts to submit this information to M6. So why should you use data requests in M6 as opposed to sending an email to someone in the other area? First, you should utilize data requests in M6 because M6 regulations mandate a response back to you within 4 working days. M6 will keep a log of the correspondence in case you need to refer to it in the future. Third, you can also keep the children's personal data secure. So once the data is M6, it stays in M6. And if you have a question about a student's record, it's actually very likely that someone else may have that same question as well. So using data requests to resolve your question ensures that information stays in M6 and is also available to all MEP staff. And then finally, you should use data requests to ensure that your query is routed to all active data administrators who can respond to it. M6 also does the work of identifying active data administrators in the area to which you are sending the data request, so you don't have to find their contact information on your own. So at this time, we'll move into a new training video or another training video involving data requests.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for this M6 training video. In this video, we will be reviewing data requests. Please note that we are using a test version of M6, and any student data that you see is dummy data. For this training video, we will be playing the role of a Texas State Data Administrator. We've just gotten word that a student named Friday Plain has moved from California to Texas. The school that he is enrolling in is looking for course history information for the courses he took while in California. To support the school's request, we can send a data request to Ask California for this information. To initiate a data request, we must start by searching for the student record. Once we are viewing the student record, we can send a data request by clicking on the data request link in the upper right-hand corner. On the data request pop-up window, we need to add a comment to request the specific information that Texas needs from California. For this student, we will ask for the student's course history information. We can then select the recipient state, in this case, California. If we know the district and school in which the student was previously enrolled, we can add that information as well, which ensures that the data request will be routed to the most appropriate data administrator in California. We happen to know that Friday Plain was previously enrolled in a school district called Almafuerte Public District. Once we have selected the appropriate recipient information, we can select Submit. Once we submit this data request, we can navigate to our work list to verify that it is in the Work List tab of our data request. We see the data request that we just sent to California in our Work List tab. We can expand it to review the information and then collapse it if we no longer need to review the information. Let's say if you have received an email notifying you that you received a data request, like this one here. You can see the worklist ID and the MSIX ID in the email. To view and address this data request, you should navigate to your worklist page in MSIX and view your data request tab. First, let's use this data request filter. It is currently filtered to all open requests. We can use this filter to narrow down the displayed data requests to the ones that we have sent or to the ones that are assigned to us. We see that we have a data request in our queue that was initiated by Tennessee. The worklist ID matches the one in the email we received. We can expand it to review the information that Tennessee wants to collect. If we would like to correspond with the user who initiated the data request, we can use the correspondence thread to send a comment to that user. In this case, we will ask if they can provide any contact information. Remember, per MSIX regulations, you have 4 days to respond to a data request that you receive. You don't have to fully resolve the data request within 4 days, but you have to correspond with the other user and work to find the information needed. You can see the date you have received the data request in the Created column, and track how many days you have to respond to it in the Due In column. If you have not responded to the data request in over 4 days, a past due indicator will appear in the Due In column. Now that we have responded to our data request, we have met our compliance requirement to respond within 4 working days. However, we should still work to find the information that Tennessee is looking for in order to resolve the data request. We currently have a data request assigned to us for a student named Wednesday Bird. The data request is requesting the upload of assessments data. Let's say we need to reassign this data request to another user who can help us identify and upload the requested information. To do so, we can click the Reassign link here and reassign to the appropriate user. When we reassign, we can also decide if we want to keep the data request assigned to ourselves by selecting or deselecting our username. When we reassign, we can add a comment to other users who will be assigned to this data request. This comment will be added to the correspondence thread of the data request. Once we click the Reassign button, any user who is selected will be assigned to the data request. Once we know the requested information has been uploaded to MSIX, we can resolve the data request and remove it from our queue. To do so, we can simply click this Resolve button on the expanded data request. If we would like, we can add a comment to be recorded with the data request resolution. Thank you for watching this video on data requests.
All right. So a quick note, I think we've gotten a few questions about using these training videos for your own state. So we wanted to mention that these training videos will be posted to MSIX at a later time. So having reviewed how to send a data request in MSIX, we also want to highlight the new data request worklist aging chart under the Records Exchange dashboard. Users with the data administrator role can access this chart, which provides the number of data requests your state has received by month, the number of those requests that were responded to or resolved, as well as the average response and resolution times. The average response time is color-coded to indicate whether your state was compliant with the MSIX regulation that calls for data requests to receive a response in 4 working days. So in addition to this data request worklist aging dashboard chart, MSIX also provides a report on data requests by age in your state. And in that report, you can easily see the volume of data requests remaining open in your state and access the worklist information for each data request. And that separate report can also be found under the report section under the worklist header. All right. So at this time, we will go ahead and move into the MSIX missed enrollment report. So the fundamental logic to this report is that MSIX is a network of all participating migrant education program states. One state may record a child has moved to your state, but your state may not identify and enroll the child for whatever reason. Importantly, in this virtual environment, this means MSIX makes your efforts to understand your migrant trends a countrywide collaborative activity. And leveraging this community, the MSIX missed enrollment report identifies children who might be missing enrollments and helps to identify regions or districts with frequent missed enrollments. So to elaborate a bit more on what you can use this report for, the MSIX missed enrollment report can be used to find locations where families had not previously been found, locate migratory children showing qualifying moves to your state who are never identified in your state, and identify pockets of missed enrollments. So let's use an example to explain how the missed enrollment report works. Our example is, how do you check for children who arrived in your state but may not have been enrolled? The answer to this question can help you focus identification and recruitment efforts and enrollment in your state migrant education program. And importantly, in this virtual environment, provide you a list of potential students who might have moved to your state. Displayed here is the missed enrollment report filter populated with the information we want. And we'll address each aspect of the filter step by step to answer how you can use the missed enrollment report to answer this question. So the first step is to tell MSIX how you want to count the missed enrollments. Selecting the MSIX ID will return a list of children with missed enrollment data. Selecting the QID will return a list of qualifying arrival dates with missed enrollment data. And importantly, selecting to display by QID may return a list where the same student appears multiple times because each QID will display individually on the results. So for this scenario, we're interested in a list of children, so we'll select MSIX ID. So step 2 is to determine the type of move MSIX should look for. Either moves to your state or moves from your state or both. The MSIX missed enrollments report is separate from move notices. And so this report uses the qualifying arrival date or MDE 20 to determine a qualifying move. When selecting Move To, MSIX will focus on children with Move To data to your state. When selecting Move From, MSIX will focus on children who have moved from your state, who have moved from data from your state. The logic behind including students with Move From data, even though this is data on moves away from your state, is to cast a wider net for students who frequently move from and return to your state. For now, let's focus on the students with Move To data. So step 3 is to tell MSIX when it should look for students moving to or from your state. For our example, we want to find any student who arrived in the previous year. So we'll take this as the 2019-2020 performance period dates. So using the qualifying arrival date range highlighted on the screen in purple, we'll input September 1st, 2019 as the beginning and August 31st, 2020 as the end of the range. In our timeline below, the QAD range we have selected is represented by the green line. MSIX will evaluate all qualifying arrivals along this QAD range from September 2019 through August 2020. And in this simplified example, say MSIX has found 2 qualifying arrivals that fit this criteria. So as a promising practice, we highly encourage you to give MSIX a qualifying arrival date range to narrow down the time frame you're interested in. Otherwise, MSIX will evaluate all historical data, which may be less precise than you need. Step 4 is to tell MSIX how long after each identified qualifying arrival to look for an enrollment date, or MDE 28. This is called the enrollment range, marked in the example below using the yellow bars. As you can see, each qualifying arrival has its own corresponding enrollment range. For the qualifying arrival seen here on September 28th, MSIX will look for an enrollment for that student after September 28th. Accordingly, for the other qualifying arrival on February 6th, MSIX will only look for an enrollment for that student after February 6th. For our example, we want to see if a student was ever enrolled, so we apply an enrollment range with no limit. As you can see on our timeline, this means the enrollment range extends all the way to August on the green QAD range. MSIX also gives you the option to narrow this enrollment range if you want to evaluate the timeliness of enrollments in your state. So at this point, we've told MSIX the specifications of our search, so we'll run the report by clicking Submit. And now MSIX has run the report. Let's run through 2 scenarios to fully explain the logic MSIX uses to generate the results. In this scenario, MSIX will evaluate each qualifying arrival date in the QAD range to see if they have an enrollment within the enrollment range. Here you see that neither the child with the qualifying arrival on September 28th nor February 6th has the corresponding enrollment. And so as a result, MSIX will return both of these children as a missed enrollment in the format you see here. Conversely, let's say that the child with the February 6th qualifying arrival date does have a corresponding enrollment seen here on May 28th. MSIX will not include this child on the missed enrollment report because there is an enrollment for that child within the enrollment range. Your state would then only see the child with no enrollment after the September 28th qualifying arrival date in this missed enrollment scenario. So a few pointers before using the missed enrollment report for yourself. It is important to discuss with the recruitment coordinator or supervisor how to use the MSIX missed enrollment report. The MSIX missed enrollment report can be accessed by users with the data administrator role, so it is important if you do not have that role to find a person who can run the report. And it is also important to discuss which filter options, which we previously discussed, to choose to meet the specifications of whatever search you want to run using the missed enrollment report. A few helpful hints when analyzing the results of the missed enrollment report. We recommend looking for patterns and asking yourself what jumps out. It is important to run the move from and move to filters separately. As we previously mentioned, the move from will cast a wider net for students who frequently move from and return to your state. It's important to seek other recruiters to brainstorm the results of the report in order to inform recruitment strategies. And it can be helpful to export and manipulate the report in Excel so you can sift through the results of what M6 returns to you. So at this time, we can go ahead and check the chat and see if there are any questions we can address.
Okay, so what I'm seeing, does the enrollment have to be in the state who missed it or in any state? So the enrollment, this is state specific. So if a QAD was reported between, for example, Texas and Michigan, and the child was moving to Michigan, but there was no enrollment for that child in Michigan, then that child would show up in the missed enrollment report. Now, say if that child was enrolled in Colorado after that, they would still show up in Michigan's missed enrollment report. So it does have to be, the enrollment does have to occur in your state. And yes, we will be sharing the presentation. I believe it may be posted to the IDRC page. If not, we will be posting the presentation on the M6 site at a later date. The missed enrollment report is available to data administrators on the reports page.
And they could also call the M6 help desk if they would like them sooner, because often it does take us a while to get things posted to M6. So if you really want it now, go ahead and call the help desk and we'll get right on that for you. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Ben. That is correct.
Answering one question, so someone asked if intrastate moves show up regardless of if you select move from or move to. And yes, intrastate can be both move from and move to, so they'll show up regardless of which ones you select.
There is a question about, is there a way to only select students that move to my area on the missed enrollments report? No, it actually looks at the students at the state level. So there's not a way to filter down to the district or region in the area. So it does look at it from a state level. And we do update trainings. We do it with our releases. So as Ben mentioned, it could take a little while for them to be posted. So if you do have a need to access the trainings before we do get them posted in M6, please feel free to reach out to the help desk and we can provide those trainings via email. There's another question. Do you know why phone numbers are not included in the move notice under comments? That is up to the move notice sender. The phone number can be included if the sender would like to include that, if they have it, same with an email address, for example. And in the correspondence field, if you do get a move notice and you would like that information, you may request it from the move notice sender. We have completed all of our main sections that we did want to talk about today. So we welcome any other questions that anybody may have on the content that we presented. Move notices do have to be manually dismissed. by a data administrator. It is not something that automatically happens at this point in time. For the qualifying activities section, I will have to refer to OME for answering that question.
Yes, we definitely have considered the qualifying activity. And so one of our considerations is that it can change. And so we don't want to lead people in the wrong direction. Also, we take great care in M6 not to have too much information to burden the states, because we're aware that it takes time and money and effort for the states to get this data and upload it into the system. So that's another concern. But we do, it is something that we've actively considered. And every time somebody asks, we keep thinking about it. And so it certainly has potential as one to add the next time that we add new minimum data elements. But as of now, it has not yet been added, although it is something you could request from the other state.
We encourage, if you need additional training on any of the reports that we provided today, please reach out to the M6 help desk. They can walk you through specifics of how to actually use the report, explain the data that you are seeing on the report, and any questions that you may have.
And Sarah, there was one more in the Q&A. An anonymous attendee said, I don't see the missed enrollment link.
That's going to depend on the user's access to M6. The missed enrollments report is only available to data administrators. So if you have not been given that role on the system, you won't be able to see that report. So we again encourage, if you're not seeing functionality that you believe you should have access to, please reach out to the user administrators in your state. You can find those on the M6 page, either before logging into the system or even after. We have a drop-down list of all of the user administrators by state, and we recommend reaching out to them to see if there's another user role that can be assigned to your account so that you have access to those reports or that functionality.
And we got a few more questions while that one was being answered. Michelle Sandoval asked, how long do you keep a move notification in your list when you've not been able to locate the family?
So how long you keep that open is really dependent upon your state processes and procedures. We recommend that within your state, you kind of discuss at which point you dismiss a move notice. One thing that you can do is if you were not able to locate that family, we do recommend you using the correspondence feature on the move notice to let the state know that sent the move notice to you that you weren't able to find the family, so that they can possibly do some more additional research, or maybe they can provide a phone number or some contact information. We want the move notice to be routed appropriately and to the correct state, district, or school. So any information that you can provide back to that move notice sender would be greatly appreciated. And then once you've fully closed that out and followed your state processes, that move notice can be dismissed. There's a question about the work list showing which district. If the move notice sender did put in a district, so at a minimum, they must put in a state, but district and school are optional fields. We recommend, if a move notice sender does have that information, that they do put it in, because M6 will route the move notice or data request to the district level if there are district admins in that state. So if that information is known, then it should be viewable on the work list item. Otherwise, if they just put a state, it will route to the state level and not down to the district or school. No, you cannot add districts if they are not on the list. It is a drop-down menu, and we get districts from based on EdFacts data. So we get a feed every month. So if the districts aren't there, it could be a new, it could be possibly that the district hasn't been submitted to EdFacts. So that's not something that we're able to add.
But
Yes.
Lana, that would be a good one to call the help desk for, because that is we would consider that to be an unusual situation and a mistake on someone's part, and so we would want to get that corrected. So if you have that, please call and let us know, and we will investigate why the district's not showing up. And then Sarah, I see a little higher up, Chris Young from Minnesota asked, could a phone number be added to the report?
So a phone number right now is not a minimum data element. I know that has come up, some sort of contact information has come up, but that does need to be evaluated by OME. And again, the data burden and other things that go into producing the minimum data elements. So right now, it wouldn't show up on the report, but we do recommend that people, if you have that phone number or you have that contact information, you can put it in the correspondence field, and the person receiving that move notice will be able to see it. And actually, anybody can search move notices on the system. So they can search by a child's name, and if that name pops up, they might be able to see that phone number as well. How can you tell if you are a primary or secondary user? So once you have logged into MSIX, at the top right-hand corner, you will see welcome and your name. If you click on that drop-down, you can click on the My Account link, and that will take you to your user account page where you can see what role you have been assigned. The report was, oh, I apologize. The MSIX missed enrollments report. No, because phone number is not a MDE, therefore it's not actually reported to the system from the states. That's not something that we can include on the report at this time. Again, that's only something that would be in a correspondence field when sending the move notice.
So then a little higher, Diane asked, I just wanted to make sure that the LEAs not get the MSIX move notice before the ESC.
So a move notice will be routed in MSIX, and I apologize, I'm not entirely sure the acronym ESC, but I can explain how move notices are routed. So when a move notice is sent, the move notice sender can choose state, district, and school. And at a minimum, state has to be selected. District and school can be selected if known. The move notice, then, depending upon the state that it's going to, if that state has district admins, the move notice and the district is selected, the move notice will be routed to the district admin in that state. It will then escalate to the regional admin and then finally to a state user admin. So it would only go to the district level if district is chosen and your state has district admins.
And she said, thank you. That is what she needed to know.
And just to note that user admins of the state can configure who to route to for regions and districts by choosing those on the user account page.
And we have had a couple of our users chime in about how helpful it is to have that district piece included when they get the move notices, and that it can be very troublesome and quite difficult to locate the child and their family if it's not. So please do include the district if you have it.
And at a minimum too, we've heard people say if you don't know maybe the district that the child is moving to, but you know the general area or county or just kind of any information that if you do need to assign it to that state level, any additional information that you can provide to give a helpful hint to the recruiters in the next state of where that child might be located is very beneficial. Again, that's where that correspondence field comes in. So we recommend utilizing it as much as possible.
Then there was one more in the Q&A. Is there any way to use MSIX services to contact schools from another country from where a student has moved?
No, at this point, we only have the school information, and MSIX is only accessible to the 46 states participating in the migrant education program. So I don't believe that there is a way to use MSIX at this time for out of the country schools. A couple of questions just came in. How many days do I have to create a move notice? Sometimes I don't know right away where they move to, and that's completely fine. There's no requirement on move notices. As soon as you know where that child is moving to, we recommend creating that move notice. And again, we have move to notices and move from notices. If you have recruited a child and they said, hi, I just moved from this state or district, we recommend sending a move from notice because oftentimes states don't know that the children have left their area. So that allows the state to know that the child has left and allows them to close out their enrollment and get any course history and stuff updated and follow the procedures on their state. So we definitely encourage, if you didn't receive a move to notice for that child, please do send the move from notice. Again, any information that can be provided in court and communicated between the states and districts is very helpful. In the missed enrollments report, if you have come across discrepancies, not sure where they're coming from, I definitely reach out to the MSIX help desk. The missed enrollments report, again, is not, it's a helpful tool. So sometimes there are QADs reported and that child never was in your state or district. That can happen. Again, it's a tool. I know we had heard from users at one point that there were a lot of children moving to a particular city and they didn't realize they had a migrant population in that area. And by using the missed enrollments report, they were able to identify that city and go check it out and recruit more students. So there could be errors in it. There could be moves where the child didn't actually make just based on reporting errors or interviewing the family for the COE. So again, it's just another tool to look at and to utilize to see if there's some children that you are missing enrolling in your state.
Connie Granados, yes, the move notices can be exported into a CSV, that report. Good question.
And again, that can be done through that move notice report. That new one that we just deployed in March is a great way to export move notices. It's exportable into a CSV file. Not a significant difference between a primary and secondary user. The only difference is, and somebody please correct me, I believe it is one can initiate a data request and one cannot, but both can initiate move notices.
And Juan, if you want to change your role, you would want to talk to the approving authority in your state. Probably do that fairly easily.
That is the user administrators in your state. And again, their contact information is listed on the MSIX site under the state contact search page. Okay. Any other questions that we may have missed? And actually, we're coming up on time now. Ben, any closing?
Sure. I just want to say we're really glad to have everyone here. This was a really nice training put on. The M6 team, Sarah, Maddie, do a really excellent job. But they're not the only ones. They were the ones here today, and they did a nice job presenting. But there's a big team that works behind the scenes supporting this effort, and they do a really fantastic job. So OME wants to express their appreciation for them. And again, I want to reiterate, if you're having issues with anything with M6, please don't hesitate to reach out to the help desk. And they're responsive. And if they're not the person to answer the question, they'll almost definitely know who the person to answer the question is. So please reach out to them. And thank you to you all for doing everything that you do. In these COVID times, identification and recruitment is really important and more difficult than before, where our in-person interactions are so limited. So please use all your resources to continue to find these children and their families so they can receive services that are available.
Thank you, everyone, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.